Okay, so I chose to do a video for my foundations assessment or reflection, whatever you want to call it. And to start off, sociology is the study of everything that's around us. It's the study of human interactions. It's the study of why we are the way we are. It's anything and everything around us, from racial stuff to gender stuff to religion. It's anything that you want it to be. And two theories that I took away from this were the conflict theory, which was derived from Karl Marx, and it basically says that society is in competition for resources, and the resources, they're in competition with powerful and influential individuals or groups, and they just want to take control. An example of that is like when wealthy families, like in the school community, they have more influence. Like if you're a cheerleader, you have more, if you have money and you have more influence than maybe a family who has just a single parent and the single parent works like 2 or 3 jobs. Like if you're wealthy, you have more social influence in the school system. And then another one I took away was the symbolic interactionist theory, which it focuses on people's relationship with other people. And people also believe that this is what makes us who we are. Like if I talk about Michael Jackson or theater, then that would suggest that I love theater and Michael Jackson. It might suggest that the reason I love those is because I was exposed to it as a child. And then moving on to chapter 2, with research methods. There are a lot of different types of research methods that I cannot talk. I'm sorry. Many different types of research methods, and one of them is a survey. And you really, for a survey, you conduct questionnaires or interviews, and it has some advantages and disadvantages. Advantages would be it surveys a large sample, and it's really easy to chart. But at the same time, it's very time consuming, and it could be difficult to get people to participate. And it only charts what people think and not how they react to that question in real life. And then another one is field work, and you do that through observations and case studies and things like that. And there are advantages to that as well. They're very detailed and accurate on their information, but there are disadvantages, like surveying. It's time consuming, and it only captures what they do but not what they think. And then another one would be experiment. It has advantages. It tests the cause and effect relationships that people have, but it also has disadvantages, like the Hawthorne effect, which is the I cannot say this word. It alters the way people behave because they know they're being watched, and so they act a different way. I know that's true for me. Like when I get a lead part in community theater, I act a certain way, and I know I shouldn't, because it's not, I don't do theater for me, I do it at a Christian theater, and so it's for God. But I'm like, I got a lead role. But, and so it's I think I'm all high and mighty, but, and it's just because I'm being watched. But when I go home, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a lead role. I'm freaking out. I'm not going to be able to memorize all these lines. Yeah. And so then the other one is the data analysis. It has the advantages of a data analysis is it makes good use of previous sociological info. But the disadvantages is the data that you could collect could be focused on another purpose other than what you originally started with. And also the data can be very hard to find. And then moving on to American culture. Society and culture are often conceived as the same word, but they have different meanings in society. Society is a group of people that share a community and a culture, and culture describes the shared behaviors and beliefs of the people in that society. Culture consists of many elements, including the values and beliefs of society. It's also guidelined by norms, and norms are things that people do and they don't think twice about, like going to the store and, oh, here's my credit card to pay for my groceries. But when you break the norm, it's when you break the norms that people are like, oh my gosh, did you just see her do that? And so that's why I really liked our project, because I went to La Coretta and paid in Monopoly money. So, like, and everyone was like, did you really just leave Monopoly money for their tip? And I was like, yes, I did. And then within society, sociologists recognize high culture and popular culture, but they're also comprised of subcultures, which are small groups that share an identity. Like me, I identify with theater nerds because I listen to Broadway musicals. Not ashamed, it's fine. And then there are also countercultures, which reject the mainstream rules and values and norms, and they create their own. And then technology is responsible for the spread of both material and non-material culture, because whether you know it or not, technology affects some aspect of your life. Obviously, I'm recording a video right now, and otherwise, like it affects, technology affects everything we do, whether we know it or not. And there are three theoretical approaches toward culture. The functionalist perspective, they work together to fulfill the needs of society, and they also view culture as a reflection of society's values. And then conflict theorists see culture as unequal because they think it's based on race and gender and class and age and race. And then the interactionist is interested in culture as they experience it on a daily basis. Sorry. And there is not a technical right way to view culture. It just depends on your viewpoint. And then as far as group interaction and conformity is concerned, societies are classified according to their development and their use of technology. And most people, according to the textbook, I'm like quoting the textbook right now, and it said, most of human history, people lived in the pre-industrial societies, which were characterized by limited technology and the law of production of goods. So, like, yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. But then after the Industrial Revolution, I cannot talk, I'm so sorry. But after the Industrial Revolution, many people based their economies around labor, and when they did that, it led to greater profits. And then at the turn of the millennium, a new type of society emerged, and it was called the post-industrial, and it was built on digital technology and non-material goods. And Emily Durkheim, I think that's how you say it, thought societies advanced that they would transition from mechanical to organic solidarity. And then Karl Marx believed that society only existed in terms of class conflict, and that relates back to the conflict theory. And then Max Weber noted that rationalization of society can be... I wrote notes, and so I'm like reading my notes off. Sorry. They can be taken to extremes. And then society is based upon social construction and how we see other people's influences and their actions as well as our actions toward them. And the same is true in society. Our social interactions depend on the roles that we take on and who we take those roles on with, and also the scene that we take them on. Like theater kids, like I act different around the kids I go to school, like the people I go to school with, than I do my theater friends. And it's just because we're in the theater, and so I know I can be my nerdy self and I won't get judged because everyone's like, oh, hey, did you see Dear Evan Hansen on Broadway? Oh, because I did. And so it's like, it's that type of thing. And then the videos that we had to watch, one of them didn't load, so I didn't get to watch them, but I watched all the other ones. Like the Bobo doll experiment, or effect, whatever you want to call it, was when they were watching people and how other people can influence their behavior. They used kids ages 3 to 5, and they put them in a room with an adult. And then, after a couple minutes of just sitting there, the adult beat up the Bobo doll. And then they left the room, and they were like, I wonder what the kids will do. And so they waited, and they videoed it, and the kids ended up beating up the dolls just like they did. Because it's basically monkey see, monkey do. Like, they saw them beating them up, and so they were like, oh, I guess it's okay for them to beat us up. And then the Milgram's experiment is an experiment that focused on conflict between human obedience to authority and personal conscience. And then the bystander effect was, I've actually been part of the bystander effect. Everyone has at some point in their life. Because you can see something happening and you don't do anything. You just walk by because no one stops or does anything. And so the video that we watched was this guy, this man and this woman lied down on the ground and pretended to be in pain. And nobody stopped and helped them. Until finally someone came along and was like, hey, are you okay? Do you need help? And then when that one person started, then other people, they were like, come on, are you okay? And so, like, it's easy for us to pass by, but it's easy for us to pass by until, someone bucks up and is like, hey, I'm gonna be the one that stops this, because maybe they really were hurt, and no one would have cared, because the one person who could change the whole bystander effect didn't care. And then, and the other one, the Aschun conformity, I think that's how you say it, Aschun conformity, was basically an experiment where they read lines, and he knew that he was right. Like, you had to choose, like, they gave you a line and they gave you 3 answers, and you had to choose which line was equivalent. And at first, they all started out and they all said the right answers, but then by like the 3rd time, they started saying the wrong answers, and they were like, and the guy who did it, he was like, 2, along with everybody else, even though he knew that 3 was right. He conformed to what society did, because he didn't want, he wanted to avoid conflict, and so, like, he knew he was right, but he went along with everyone else to avoid discomfort from the group. And so that's basically it. I'm really glad that I took this class online, because I'm super awkward in person. Obviously, you can tell this video is like, all over the place. So I'm sorry, but I've really learned a lot from this chapter. Chapters, but from the time that we've started, like, just different people believe different things, and how life is not always easy, but we have to make the best of what we're given. And just, because I never knew, even before I took this course, I was like, I don't even know what sociology is, and sociology is the study of anything you want it to be. And so that's what I think I like about it, is because you can choose what to believe by yourself. No one can make up your mind for you. You can have people influence you, but you ultimately get to change and make up your mind. So, that's it. Thanks, and real sorry this is so long. I talk and ramble, I'm sorry. Thanks, have a good night, or day, whatever.